What's good, YouTube? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to another reaction video. We got 8 underrated wide receivers from the 2010s you missed watching. Let's check this
You guys
out.
probably remember Victor Cruz's salsa dances.
Yes, Sirski.
Percy Harvin taking back that kick to the house in the Super Bowl.
I feel like Percy Harvin, bro, should have had a better career. I ain't gonna lie. I feel like receivers like him, they didn't really know how to use them back then.
Really were.
Like him and Cordero Patterson.
Of course, the 2010s had some huge names like Julio Jones, Antonio Brown, Calvin Johnson. But these 8 guys we're going to talk about today were quietly putting up some great numbers.
Okay. Jeremy Mao, Eagles
What's the
legend.
first thing that comes to mind when you think of Jeremy Maclin?
Maclin was
If you're an
a
Eagles
dog,
fan,
bro.
it's probably him hauling in catches from Michael Vick, or
played
maybe
for my
him
Ravens, too.
torching the Cardinals in 2014.
There's a quick pass to Maclin. Jeremy Maclin. Eagle in the end zone. Touchdown.
In his prime, this guy was absolutely everywhere, cutting through coverages, making catches over the middle, and showing the kind of speed that made defenders lose sleep at night, especially when you're already worried about doubling Deshaun Jackson. But even when D-Jax left the team in 2014, Maclin stayed strong and had his best year yet with 1,318 yards and 10 touchdowns. Which is kind of crazy to think about when you know that he was coming back from a torn ACL that wiped out his entire 2013 season. That big 2014 season got him paid by Kansas City. 5 years, $55 million to join the Chiefs in 2015. Unfortunately, the Eagles just couldn't compete with that offer to keep him on the team. For a minute there, we almost got to see what a Maclin and Tyreek Hill combo could have looked like in Kansas City, but Tyreek wasn't a full-time receiver in 2016.
Jeremy Maclin is an explosive guy. He's a football player.
And then everything changed shortly after. One of Maclin's closest friends died, and with injuries piling up, he was never the same after that. Baltimore gave him another shot in 2017, but after 440 yards in 12 games, it really showed the decline was real. Over his career, he had 514 12 games. It really showed the decline was
That haircut is atrocious. I ain't gonna lie, nigga.
Over his career, he had 514 catches for 6,835 yards and 49 touchdowns across 8 seasons. For the Eagles, he had 36 touchdown catches, which might not seem like a whole lot, but that puts him in 7th place all-time in team history. And that's actually one more than Deshaun Jackson had with the Eagles.
Really?
But these days, he's the head coach at Kirkwood High School, passing on what he learned to the next generation.
Eric Decker, another one of those elite white boy receivers.
Decker was hauling in touchdowns
Him,
during
Wes
the 2011 Tim Tebow season in Denver. I mean, nothing seemed to make sense that year, but it just felt like anything could happen.
Tebow looks left, throws, pass is going to be to Eric Decker. Decker's there. 15-10.
Decker was a dog, bro.
Decker caught 8 touchdowns that year, becoming Tim Tebow's most reliable target when the Broncos desperately needed someone to catch the football. But Decker really got unlocked when Peyton Manning came to town.
Whether it's in the film, whether it's in walkthroughs, practice, games, he's making sure we know what we're doing, because if we're not, it's going to affect us as a whole.
And if we're talking about prime Decker moments, you just can't beat Week 13 of 2013 against Kansas City.
E-ball.
8 catches, 174 yards, and 4 touchdowns
174?
in a massive 35-28 win. That was Decker at his best, showing those reliable hands and that knack for finding the end zone. The guy was just so consistent. While he was never really a top-of-the-line guy, he was one of the better number 2 receivers in the league. He wasn't about being flashy, but he always knew where he needed to be. Even after leaving for the Jets, he kept putting up good numbers. Almost 1,000 yards in 2014, and then in 2015, Decker managed 1,027 yards and 12 touchdowns. The guy was a pro who could adapt to different systems and different quarterbacks. His career wrapped up in 2018 after signing with the Patriots, which would have gotten him back together with Josh McDaniels, but he didn't play a game that year and retired pretty early on. He and his wife, Jessie James, actually starred in their own reality show from 2013 to 2017. These days, he's living the family life and having some fun on Instagram. Last year, they welcomed their 4th child, which they named Denver Callaway Decker. Now, as you could tell, it seems like Denver has a special place in his heart.
Victor Cruz.
99 yards. That's all you should need to say to any Giants fan, and they'll immediately know. 9 yards. That's all you should.
Hey, somebody come get they grandpa, my nigga. Why he doing the salsa dance? Hella zesty.
You need to say to any Giants fan, and
Oh
they'll
fuck no!
immediately know what you're
Oh
talking
fuck
about.
no! Hey, bro. Him and Akeem Nicks, bro. That was a pretty good wide receiver duo.
What makes that play even better is the team was 7-7 going into the game and basically looking at elimination from playoff contention. You could even argue that's the exact moment that their Super Bowl run really began. With Cruz, pretty much every touchdown meant salsa dancing in the end zone, and Giants fans
he was hitting
could
that
not
bit
get
too.
enough of it. He's a guy who went undrafted, coming out of nowhere to become one of the most exciting receivers in the league. His 2011 season was wild. He torched Seattle for 161 yards and a touchdown in Week 5, then went for 157 and 2 scores against New Orleans in Week 12. And when the lights were the brightest in Super Bowl 46 against the Patriots, Cruz came through with a huge touchdown that helped put the Giants up early, and eventually they locked up the championship.
Second down and go, play clock all the way down to 0, and the pass in the end zone is shoving them caught
That was
by Victor Cruz for a touchdown.
Then 2014 happened. A torn patellar tendon changed everything. Cruz missed the entire 2015 season after also dealing with changed everything. Cruz missed
climbing these stairs, bro, with a torn ACL is insane.
The entire 2015
I would have just stayed my ass
also
downstairs. I'm gonna
with
keep
calf
it a buck.
injury, and when he finally came back in 2016, he just wasn't the same explosive player. The Giants released him in 2017, Chicago picked him up, but released him in September, and by 2018, he was calling it quits. These days, Cruz has totally reinvented himself in the media. He started as a football analyst for ESPN, then moved into entertainment with E! and Good Morning Football. He's even hosted MTV's The Challenge series, and most recently, he's joined TNT Sports as an analyst.
Okay, Doug Baldwin.
Here's a guy who
these bring it back
memories,
memories, bro.
Doug Baldwin actually ranks 4th all-time for Seahawks receiving yards and 3rd in receiving touchdowns. The guy was pretty damn good.
When I think about Doug Baldwin, I think about toughness.
You can tell he plays with that chip on his shoulder, that he wasn't respected like he should have been.
Baldwin had this crazy knack for making insane catches when it mattered the most. In 2015, he led the entire league with 14 receiving touchdowns. Week 12 against Pittsburgh, 6 catches for 145 yards and 3 touchdowns. And then in the playoffs, he makes this nasty one-handed catch.
I think it was freezing cold when he made that catch, too.
And a one-handed grab by Doug Baldwin. Sensational catch.
But my favorite Baldwin moment has to be the under-the-butt catch. The refs originally called it incomplete, but Baldwin always knew he had it.
And Wilson on the run. That'll be not caught. Incomplete.
After reviewing the play,
that's crazy.
The field has been changed. Here's the catch.
Baldwin had a great connection with Russell Wilson. I mean, it was really one of those best quarterback to receiver connections in the league. And at one point, they even set the record for most touchdowns over the course of 4 straight games. Baldwin's burst off the line was almost perfect, and his route running was as crisp as anything.
Oh my god!
It was almost perfect, and his route running was as
who the fuck is 26?
Crisp as anything you'll see.
God.
In my mind, if I handle
that
what I need to
nigga
handle
break
at the line of
dancing,
scrimmage, I'm
man.
gonna get the separation I need. Now it's all up to me to get to the
Nigga
spot
hit the
on field
Spider-Man
where I need to get
pose.
On that move, your Allen Iverson crossover here.
Oh my gosh.
It's like AI beating Michael Jordan.
Right.
After retiring,
Was that Josh Norman?
Over here. His feet are frozen. It's like AI beating Michael Jordan.
Oh my
After retiring in
gosh.
2019, Baldwin put that Stanford degree right to work. Now he's the CEO of Vault 89, which is focused on social impact.
Okay. Miles Austin, nigga. I ain't gonna lie, bro. Dallas had a lot of underrated receivers, bro. Miles Austin, Terrence Williams, Cole Beasley. I don't know where the fuck they be finding these underrated receivers at, bro. But nigga, Miles Austin, he was one of my favorite receivers growing up.
Just explosive breakouts come out of nowhere. Anybody who
Him,
played fantasy
Dez
football
Bryant.
back in 2009 is gonna remember the moment they desperately tried to pick up Miles Austin off waivers. The guy was basically a nobody. Undrafted wide receiver who spent many years buried on the Cowboys depth chart. Then the game happened, and everybody suddenly was asking the same question. Where the hell did this guy come from?
No, facts. I wonder who's going to be that type of guy this year. You know what I'm saying? They just come out of nowhere and just start balling. Happens every year.
First NFL start. A Cowboy hero today. No flags.
Yeah, that Kansas City
Cowboys need to
game
start
was
wearing these
crazy.
unis a lot
10
more,
catches for 250 yards and 2
They should be wearing the
touchdowns,
same
including a
unis every game.
60-yard game winner in overtime to steal a 26-20 win. The next week against Atlanta, Austin wasn't done yet. He racked up another 171 yards and 2 touchdowns. At that point, you couldn't call it a fluke. This guy was the real deal and playing out of his mind. Austin played like a running back who just happened to catch passes. He had this physical style that made defensive backs think twice about coming up to tackle him. For those 2 crazy seasons in 2009 and 2010, he was one of the most dangerous weapons in the league. But injuries just wrecked everything. His body broke down fast, and that explosive player we saw during his peak years became a shadow of himself. After hanging up the cleats, Austin moved into coaching. He started scouting with Dallas, then became the offensive quality control coach for San Francisco. The Jets then hired him as their receivers coach in 2021, but things got messy in 2022 when he was suspended for breaking the NFL's gambling policy.
Hey, bro.
From what we know, he wasn't betting on the games, it was other sports, and he's still fighting the decision. Still, it's a tough situation for a guy who's trying to build a coaching career, and the league has not reinstated him yet.
That's crazy. Percy Harvin.
But if you guys want to talk about electricity,
Yeah,
Percy
one of the
Harvin
greatest
at Florida
college
was something else
players of all
entirely.
time.
He had back-to-back 1,300 plus yards from scrimmage seasons to close out his college career. Guy was a video game character come to life. When Minnesota drafted him in 2009,
Yeah, like,
they paired
bro,
him
he
up
was
with
just ahead of his time, bro. Him and Cordero Patterson were both ahead of their times, bro, when it comes to, you know, these hybrid players, bro. Like, I feel like if they were drafted somewhere around like 2018, 2019, they would have been unstoppable.
Peterson
like,
in what became one of the most explosive offensive combos that you have ever seen. Add Brett Favre calling the shots on offense and Jared Allen wrecking quarterbacks on defense, and that Vikings team was must-watch TV every single Sunday.
And here is Brett Favre. Fires left, it's caught by Percy, reaches out, touchdown!
Harvin's rookie season was pretty good. 925 yards from scrimmage and 2 kick return touchdowns got him Offensive Rookie of the Year honors. His speed was insane, but he could also mix that up with some pretty surprising strength at times. And he was super shifty.
2 first downs, now on 3rd down, wide open, it's the rookie Harvin. First down, Minnesota at the Chicago 32. Field behind Favre, and he goes over the middle, touchdown.
But the thing is, with Harvin, there always seemed to be some sort of injury and quite a lot of drama. He missed all of 2013 with a hip injury, and by the time Seattle traded for him, the migraines and locker room issues were becoming big problems. Most of his Seahawks time was a disappointment, but he did deliver one massive moment, that 87-yard kickoff return touchdown in the Super Bowl that basically ended the Broncos' hopes. After the extra point, it was 29-0, and Denver.
And like, I think wasn't this the year where Peyton Manning threw for 5,400 yards and 55 touchdowns, bro. And then they ran right into the buzzsaw, which was Legion of Boom.
Comeback. Harvin retired in 2016 and then came back for a little bit, but then retired again in 2017. And these days, well, you tell me. The guy has pretty much vanished from the public eye since hanging up his cleats. For someone who was once lighting up highlight reels across the country, he's managed to stay completely out of the spotlight.
Santana Moss.
Okay, so some players are lights out right from the jump, but other careers take some time to really get going, and Santana Moss is the perfect example of that.
And Pierre
His early
Garçon.
NFL years were all about special teams. The dude led the league with 2 punt return touchdowns in 2002 while barely getting any offensive snaps. 0 starts in 2001, then only 3 in 2002. The Jets were basically using him as a gadget player. Then 2003 happened. Moss exploded for 1,105 yards and 10 touchdowns, proving that he could be a legit receiver. But his biggest moment came 2 years later with Washington, in a Monday Night Football game against the Cowboys, where it seemed like the game was almost over.
Brunell hanging in, going deep, and the pass is caught for a touchdown.
This is when you can stop those plays.
From the 30,
Another bomb? Oh my gosh.
Moss finished with 159 yards that night, and the Cowboys fans are probably still having nightmares about it. That season was nuts for Moss. He had 173 yards and 2 touchdowns against Kansas City in Week 6, then 160 yards and 3 touchdowns against the Giants in Week 16. What made him special was his quickness and that chip on his shoulder. The guy had spine issues in high school and was constantly being told that he was too short to play receiver at the higher levels. That kind of adversity shaped everything about how he approached the game. After 4 years with the Jets, he spent the rest of his career in Washington, finishing with 10,283 receiving yards and 66 touchdowns overall. Those are serious numbers for a guy who started off his career returning punts. And he's still keeping pretty busy. These days, Moss has his foundation, he records a podcast, works as an NBC analyst, does radio, and even endorses a solar roofing company. Radar, but I want to know what you guys think. Which of these receivers do you think was the most underappreciated during their prime? Let me know in the comment section down below, and make sure to subscribe if you enjoyed this video.
Hey man, shit, I want to know what you guys think down in the comments below. Y'all let me know what other NFL videos I'm going to react to. Without further ado, I'm out.
I'ma make them feel me, make them people when they show me. And if you don't know me, I'ma make sure that you know me. I hate to say it, but I really think I'm broken. But I know I'm chosen, I really know I'm chosen. I know I'm chosen. I was just lost a year ago, but now I'm focused. When good at sports, this microphone can be my trophy. Not taking drugs, I found a better way of coping.